Let's talk about the camera for a little bit. Here's the camera menu. This red thing here is the camera. And this one is the camera angle. Okay, so the first option you have here is the cleared render. That means if the world is always, before it gets calculated, blackened. If you turn it off, it is not. So it gets painted on top of each other. So the new picture gets painted on top of the old picture, which makes nice effects when you, for example, put a background in with a 10%, and then you get this blur effect. Yeah, you can play around with it. It's really, you can get really nice effects. Let's turn it on again. The camera angle, you can change the angle from what you see. Movement, almost like the other movements, slightly different. So for example, you can here say follow target, which is the camera target, and then let's do this, for example. So this one will follow the target plus world position. So the world position is this one here. And now if you give the camera target a movement, for example float, the camera will move behind the target. Here you go. And let's see other stuff here. If you have, for example, floating movement, you have here this border is the border in which the camera will float. If you click and then drag, and then it will snap, and then you can change these borders in where it floats. Okay, it's clear all again. And go on. Here you have the maximum speed, velocity, change position. Here you can set how often it will look for a new position. Change direction speed. This is how fast it will go into the new direction. If you turn this up, real high speed, then it gets very edgy movement, and if you turn it down, it gets very smooth movement. Follow till distance is, for example, if you use the follow camera, how close it will follow the camera. And overdrive, that's a setting if it breaks when it gets to the destination point. You have to play around with it. If you turn it down, it will kind of swing into the destination point. The rotation, you have rotation look at target. That means it will look at the camera target. If I turn this off, you can get lost really easily. Like free, for example, now you can use the arrow keys to float around, but here you see that you see nothing. That means, so now if we make the camera target bigger, then you see it's looking in a direction, but it's very hard to control. So I can use the arrow keys to look around in any direction. And I can use VASD to move around the camera. So let's see what else do we have. Rotation, we have steady rotation, so it will automatically change rotation. Here you can set the axis it will do this rotation. For example, only epsilon direction, and now it will only spin in the epsilon direction. You have a jump rotation that will go into new rotations every once in a while. Rotate around is that it will rotate around the target with a certain speed. The speed settings is here, spin speed. how fast it goes into the new rotation, and here is the chance in which rotation change is done. Okay, let's put it back to look target. So now it will look at the target. Arrow keys, how the arrow keys react, you can set it to look, and then it will, depending on the position, you can change the camera to look left and right, back and front, rather than turn, and then you can, like in a 3D game, look in the several directions. Free fly setback, so if you take over with the keys, WASD or the arrow keys, then you can take over the camera, and then this time, this free fly setback time, says how fast it will go back into the movement and rotation mode that you set. Rigid bodies, experimental physics option, the fog settings. Let's see, so the fog settings are off in default. You can turn it on, and there you already see you get this fog thing going on. Fog decay mode, how fast the fog kicks in, different settings. This one is a nice one. Fog color, what color the fog has, or blue. And here's the fog start border when the fog starts, and here's the fog end color when the fog ends. If I make this border low, it's all foggy. The perspective, camera perspective, you can set it orthographic or perspective. So let's do clear all. If you want to let the camera follow an object other than the camera target, you have to set the movement to follow camera target. So this is what it does right now, and then make the camera target follow the object that you want the cam to follow. Let's see, for example, with this floater, if you make the camera target, which is this one, follow target plus world position of the floater. So now it will pick one of the floaters to fly to, and the camera will follow the target plus the world position. So it will always stand in front of the target, like this. You can also do circle target and maybe set the world position to 0. And now it will float, now it will circle around the target. If you don't want it to change so often, then you turn this one down. So now the camera floats around the target, and the target floats to one of the floaters.